I'm Andrew Hulbert. I started a business when I was 27. I exited that business for about $100 million in 2023, age 37. You find me today, age 39, and I have spent the last 2 years decompressing because I was an all-in, every minute of every day entrepreneur.
I want to go back into your story a little bit because for me, I believe that there is a real thing where you can get trapped in the middle. You know, you can get brought up in a middle-class family.
Yeah.
You know, you've always got food in the fridge. Your lunch bag's always packed. For you, that wasn't the case, right? Do you think that actually helped you?
My working class upbringing, my council estate roots from my grandparents and my mum, I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
Because like middle class scares me.
Welcome back to Manners Maketh Man podcast. It's a pleasure having you here as always. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everybody listening, sharing episodes, sending messages, or supporting this journey in any way. You're the reason that this exists. This podcast is all about growth, standards, discipline, and becoming a man of substance that you know you can be. And the fact that you're here tells me that you care about that too. I don't take that lightly. I genuinely appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe. I'm committed to showing up consistently, bringing you real conversations and discussions that actually move the needle in your life. Now, let's get into it.
Andrew Hulbert, welcome to the Manners Maketh Man podcast. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. I feel like we've already recorded a podcast before we've even come on today.
Exactly.
This is good. This is how it should be. So yeah, very nice to be here. Thank you.
That's definitely the way to do it, 100%.
Yeah.
For my audience that don't know you already, just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Andrew Hulbert. I started a business when I was 27 called Pareto. I grew that business to a 50 million turnover business, about 500 staff as a property services organization. I exited that business for about $100 million in 2023, age 37. I sold about 94% of my shares at that stage and then took a step back and retired at the age of 37. You find me today, age 39, and I have spent the last 2 years decompressing because I was an all-in, every minute of every day entrepreneur. I am now a father looking after my kids. I bought a farm over in Oxford, and I just love to do things that I love to do. And like, we'll talk a lot about wealth and money and everything, I'm sure. But wealth for me, and just so you understand who I am, is having no alarm clock.
Yeah.
Waking up in the morning when you want to wake up, or when your kids jump on you, or just doing what you want to do. That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a billionaire. I just wanted to not have to do what other people wanted me to do. And that's where you find me today.
Yeah.
So it's an absolute pleasure to be here and have a chat.
Well, first of all, congratulations. I mean, like to sell your company for that much money at your age is a phenomenal achievement. Most people can only wish to get to that point. And I think you're so right. I mean, I think life for me is all about making sure that I'm not blocking serendipity into my life. And in many ways, you know, you get more creative elements come to you when you are free. And that's the entrepreneurial journey, right?
Yeah.
A question I have for you is, since going quite public with that 100 million exit, have you faced any envy or expectations, or have people asked things from you?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I think to some degree, you have to understand it comes with the territory. If you're going to put yourself out there, then actually people are going to ask you for stuff.
Yeah.
What I probably wasn't prepared for on social. So look, I didn't really do, all my TikTok, Instagram and YouTube was private before now. I didn't have a public version of that. I did have a public LinkedIn, which was my main platform. Since I've gone public on those 3 other sites, I get a lot of messages about can they have investment, or lots of stories about how they haven't got enough money and they need help and can I help them? And I tell you what, if you don't respond, or if you don't offer them money, or if you don't do this, that, and the other, people get really pissy about it. And actually, they try and make their problems your responsibility. And I probably wasn't prepared for that because ultimately I'm a nice guy, right? I'll always give someone half an hour. And a lot of people on my socials will know, they contact me out of the blue. Can I have half an hour just to have a chat? Usually the answer is yes, because I'm interested. I want to know what's going on. I have spoken to so many product entrepreneurs recently. Now, I'm a services guy. So like, I've sold £250 million of services. I know what I'm doing there. Products, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And actually, entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. But what you find is a lot of these people, they've got a brilliant product. They've got it off the ground. They've got a patent. They've sold maybe 100,000 units of it. But then what? They don't know where to go next.
Yeah.
And I'm probably in live conversations with like 10 product businesses that are all going, what's next? Some are asking for investment, some are not. But yeah, I think socials is hard because you get a lot of hate. You know, people, and what I really enjoy, I have a really thick skin. And I say, like, bring the comments. Come on, let's hear it. But like on Instagram, generally people are positive, and generally people are asking for help. I get a lot of messages on Instagram. On TikTok, it's a bit of a mixture, but on TikTok, people are always trying to undermine what you're saying. So they're like, oh, I looked at your accounts in 2022. You didn't make that much money in that year, like you said you did. Or nobody can sell a business for 100 million based off the balance sheet that you had. Right. And I'm like, cool, mate, no worries. How much did you sell your business for? Let me know. Tell me about your podcast and I'll come and do it. So I think, you got to be prepared. And there's a lot of sob stories and there's a lot of fraud. Well.
I mean, I think the correct way of looking at kind of being envious towards somebody is it should really just galvanize you into taking action yourself, right? And I think in many ways, it can be quite a good indicator of what you actually want to do in your life. You know, if you are envious of somebody, don't look at it thinking, what can I get from them? But how can I learn? How can I soak up the information? Because then it's going to move me in the position that I want to go down.
Yeah.
What sort of skills would you say that you picked up and were important to you in your 20s that most people overlook?
Yeah. The first thing I'd just say, just going back a quick step on that, is I am not trying to sell anyone anything. I've just been on this journey. I don't do masterclasses. I don't have a book. I'm not trying to be a consultant. I'm none of those things.
Don't sell a course.
No, don't sell anything. And look, all the social media advice I get from people is, oh, do that. You know, do a $99 course. At the moment, that's not where I'm at. So all my content is free. And I'm trying to show people, like I think on my thing this morning, I don't think everyone can start a business. I don't believe they can. Those with the right mindset can. And actually, I want to show you the highs and the lows. I dedicated 10 fucking years of my life to that business. Yes, you can see the headline, council estate to 100 million exit. Yes, you can. But actually, that's 10 years of sacrifice. And it sounds wonderful and everything. But between the ages of 27 and 37, that's an important time in your life. You're going to come into that soon. And actually, like, don't ever underestimate the sacrifice that goes into it, which is why I'm quite honest. In terms of skills, so the skills that I learned in my 20s, to be honest, I learned them much earlier than that. It is hustle and hard graft and dedication and sacrifice beyond anything else that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
For me, if you are, and this is an unpopular opinion, if you are going to start a business and you want to be more successful than the other companies out there, you're all in.
Yeah.
You are all in.
It's obsession, right?
It is beyond obsession. It is, this is what my life is about. And that comes with sacrifice. And like, there are many things in our lives, and I'm not one to judge what's important to people and what's not. But for me, mum and dad, family, sisters, wife, kids, friends, they're all important to me. Those things easily get sacrificed. And divorce is a really big part of entrepreneurship. It happens a lot. For me, I was very lucky it didn't, because my wife and I were able to be together for the 20 years now and have a couple of kids. But I mean all in. And for me, it's about what are you doing every single day or every hour of every day that is taking you forward. So I learned that early. I was earning money from the age of 12 in the corner shop, stuffing papers. I used to get up on a Saturday and Sunday at 4 a.m. and then go to school on a Monday. And then I had jobs all the way through school. And I was on with Marks and Spencer's, one of the first 15-year-olds that they took on. All those skills and all those experiences, and like I was working in pubs. I like to tell the story that one of my jobs in Far From the Madding Crowd in Oxford was to go and stop the local rent boy having sex in the toilets. That was one of my jobs in there.
That's quality.
Because a lot of Oxford University students would be rent boys, and they'd have like the local vicars and stuff in there, which is all true. And my job was to break them up because I was so big. But like, and then also when I was in the alcohol shops that I used to work in, people would come in and rob us. You get robbed all the time.
Yeah.
And they're just standard, especially when you live so close to the council estate where I grew up from. So I think like from my side, those are all really important skills. And then you sort of, as you get into your 20s, some key advice, and like the guys in your early 20s, and you're in this as well, right? There are 3 things you can do early doors that are going to start to build your profile, build your personality, build your personal brand. One is networking.
Yeah.
So what's the sector? If you're going to go and start a business, or you're working in a company at the moment, what's the sector you're going to start a business in? Go and network 3 times a week, 4 times a week. In my sector of property services, I could network every day if I wanted to. And I did 4 times a week in my early career. The next one is articles. Get to know the trade press. Who are the editors in the trade press? Generally, trade press, whatever it's for, whichever sector, younger people can have a voice. They just need to get the voice out there and tell a version of it. And the third one is awards. So like, look at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, look at the Lloyd's Awards, look at your local awards that are local to you as a sector. if you can start building those 3 things in your early 20s, before you've even started your own business, you're building a profile.
Yeah, you're in the game, right?
You're in the game and people know who you are. And just be fucking kind.
Yeah.
Just be kind.
Be a
to people.
colloquial person.
Go into a networking event. You're not selling anything to anybody. Just have a nice chat. Have a conversation. You're not expecting anything. They're not expecting anything. And you're leaving a good impression.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful things you can do in this world from a sales perspective is leave a good impression. And just when people leave a conversation with you, they're like, oh, wow, he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Or they were a nice guy. Oh, he talked about something I didn't usually talk about.
Yeah.
Sales is about being memorable. And sales, you are always on as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I think for me, early doors, working hard, hustle, earning money, understanding the value of money. I'm working class background, so that was important for me. And then also networking, articles, personal brand, podcasting.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
Now, if you're in your early 20s, you need to be out there podcasting. This is exactly what you should be doing because you're starting to show authority.
Yeah.
And like the cost of podcasting has come right down. The availability in London of great spaces like this is what you should be doing. And like my daughter's 7, and we don't put anything about her online. So my kids are not online at all. But I know there'll be a day when she will be. And she'll have a phone and she'll have an iPad and all those things. And actually, I think podcasting is a great way to tell the story and sort of, it's hard to talk for an hour and not be authentic because your true personality comes out.
That's very true. Yeah. You've got people are watching you for too long to not really get to know you.
Yeah.
I want to go back into your story a little bit because for me, I believe that there is a real thing where you can get trapped in the middle. You know, you can get brought up in middle class family.
Yeah.
You know, you've always got food in the fridge. You know, your lunch bag's always packed. For you, that wasn't the case, right?
Well, yeah. From an earning money perspective early on.
Do you think that actually helped you?
Yeah.
Massively. Because it gives you that like fight to then go after the thing that you want.
My mum is like my best friend, right?
Yeah.
And I say that as a 39-year-old man. Not the coolest thing, but I love my mum and I hope she sees it.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. And I love it. And my family are my best friends. I grew up in an environment where my mum and dad worked really hard. So my dad would be in a factory 60 hours a week. And then he'd install alarms on the weekend, or he'd make these little wooden dinosaurs and sell them at the boot sale. And my mum would work at Sainsbury's and she was a cleaner and she'd do a paper round and she looked after 3 kids. So like on a Sunday, my mum would work because she got double time and my dad would have to look after the 3 kids. And my dad's wonderful. We had no idea what he was doing. So what we would do is we'd cycle to the local flyover and play under the bridge because that's what a normal Sunday was. And we'd come back and have ravioli out of a can. Now, look, I was never extremely poor. We always had food and we always had a comfortable home. But the value of our family was that if you wanted something, you had to earn it. And part of the challenge I had when I was 17, 18, and I wanted to go to university, my mum and dad had never been. No one in my family had been to university before. So they didn't see university as a route for me because frankly, for the first 17 years of my life, I'd been messing about, getting drunk early, trying not to get girls pregnant, going to parties, nicking bikes, nicking pizzas out of freezers at parties, all sorts of stuff. I nick tea bags these days. That's that's the thing I love to steal now. But actually, like they'd seen me not make the most of my life. And even though I was working and earning money, I was also hugely sociable. And we didn't have WhatsApp and stuff in those days.
Yeah.
So if I was organizing a party, it would be like, right, everyone go to University Parks in Oxford at 7 o'clock on Friday night. I'll go and buy £200 worth of alcohol with my fake ID. I will sell it to you in the park and let's have a party. And that's the sort of thing that we would do. I think those skills are so brilliant as you go into the future. But my working class upbringing, my council estate roots from my grandparents and my mum, I'm so grateful for it. Yeah. Because like middle class scares me and middle class just sort of builds you, you're in the middle of this area.
It's just comfortability, right?
It is because why are you grafting? And like, even with my own kids who are 5 and 7, they're going to get a big check one day for say 10 million quid each or whatever for doing absolutely nothing. How do you raise them in the right way?
How are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm still working it out. What works for me with kids is no phones, no iPads. They have telly, but little bit of telly. But that's why I bought a farm because I wanted them to be outside. And like we've got our goats turning up this summer. So we've got some animals turning up. I'm just today completing on a nature reserve that touches the farm that I have as well. So basically, we want the kids to be outside.
Definitely.
So instead of just eating Haribo every day, my son, who's quite picky with what he eats, he's 5. Say there's some like pasta that's got pesto on it. He won't eat it because the green bits he thinks are dirty. You plant a fucking carrot outside. This is true.
And he'll love it.
You know, he goes out, he picks the carrot out of the mud, doesn't even wash it, just eats it. And I'm like, Luca, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
When they talk about raising kids, that's what I want. But no, that very early I taught them how to make fire. They can ride the 300cc quad bike, which my wife hates.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah, and actually, I don't mind them doing dangerous stuff. And I think a lot of parenting is doing dangerous stuff safely. Now, I am no parenting expert. I still get frustrated with the kids. I shout at the kids. You know, I'm not a perfect dad, absolutely. But I take huge privilege from the fact I can be there. I can take them to school. I'm part of their lives. Doesn't mean my kids always want to know me. They still punch me. They still get angry. They still get upset. But it just means that I can be a real part of it. And I hope my dream for the children is I don't want them to think that when they're 18, they're going to get a big check, because they're not. That's not how I'm going to do it. I want them to follow their dreams and maybe do a career that isn't flush with money. So maybe they want to be an artist or an actor or a photographer or something that they need money to get started out.
Yeah.
And I can be the one that gives them the chance.
Yeah, 100%.
And actually they can follow their dreams, or they want to be a nurse or whatever they want to do. That sometimes people won't go into that career because it doesn't make enough. And I can help them. And that's very special as a father to be able to do that.
I think I'm very blessed in a way because my parents brought me up to experience the fullest life as a young child, right? They put me into every different thing that I could try, right? Whether it's tennis, football, anything. Modeling, I did adverts. I got to meet older people when I was younger. I actually used to love chilling with older people more than people my age, right? I think that's a standard thing anyway. But I think one of the key things that I had was rejection.
Yeah.
And that's what's given me a little bit more fight and a little bit more grit. And I think you only get rejection through, actually just going into the situation and experiencing it to the fullest, right? Yeah. I might not be the best at it, but I'm going to try my hardest anyway. I want to talk to you a bit about Pareto.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. So when you actually started the business, did you feel like you were ready, or did you pick it up as you went?
I still don't feel I'm ready now. I think entrepreneurship, you can go and find a load of entrepreneurs online that will tell you that they've got the best bravado and that they're the best at this, the best at that. Look, even when we were a £50 million business, I was still making it up as I was going along. Yeah. I used to say to people, never forget, I'm just that 27-year-old in my room with a laptop and an idea about what I'm going to do to change the industry. And I still felt that way. And I was never, yes, I have an ego. And yes, I think I'm better than other people at certain stuff, which I still believe now. But actually, I never thought like I was a better man than other people. It was just, this is something I was doing. So with Pareto, look, there are 125,000 competitors in my sector.
Wow.
So if you want to take one thing from this podcast today, I entered a sector with 125,000 competitors.
Yeah.
You don't have to create something new. You just have to create something that's a bit better, a bit different, marketed a bit differently, and the opportunity is there for anybody. And in 2022, we were the 6th most recognized brand in the entire sector. We had no marketing budget. We just created this amazing social story behind the journey that we were going on. Didn't cost us anything. So Pareto, really, I never felt ready. And even when I got there 8 figures on the payday when I exited, I still didn't feel ready then. It didn't really feel real. And actually, when you open your bank account and there's 8 figures in there, there's a strange feeling as you go through it, especially when you've been grafting for 10 years and it's all leading up to that one moment. And we'd given away 20% of the business. So there were 15 other people also getting millions of pounds on that day as well.
How many people?
15. So
wow.
So I had one of the things I'm most proud of. So in my senior management team, when I exited, there were a team of 15 people and 20% of the business was gifted to those 15 people.
Okay.
And that pot was worth over £10 million in the end that went between all of them at various different levels. But on the day we all got our money, we had a photographer.
Yeah.
And they're all jumping on my back and we're all playing and we're all laughing and popping champagne and all that sort of stuff. You have that moment. But then there's that moment of right, you've drank the champagne, you got to get back in the car to drive home. So you've only had a little bit. And life is real again.
Yeah.
And you don't really ever that buzz is only a very short-lived thing. That's why I wanted a photographer. Also, in the lead up to selling the business, I just lost 9 stone in 7 months because
crazy.
Yeah. So one day I just woke up and I thought, right, when I talk about going all in, when I knew the business was potentially going to be sold and we were going to get to that point, I was about 24 stone. I was big. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to sort my health out. So I just went on a 500 calorie a day diet. I ate once a day at 6 p.m, cut out all sugar, carbs, alcohol, caffeine, took everything out of my diet. And I just lost 9 stone in 7 months through mindset alone. No Manjaro or anything like that, like the kids have these days. So like in the pictures, I'm super skinny, and you can see how gaunt I am and how grey I am, because I've just literally given every ounce of my body to this. And I say it all the time, but my wife came and said, look, Andrew, I don't find you attractive at 15 stone. So like, if we're going to have this great life together, you need to put some chub back on. So I'm 17 stone today, perfect size for my wife. And that's what I like to do. But so, yeah, just on that Pareto thing, I don't think I ever felt today's the day.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I'm going to have a go.
Exactly. I do genuinely believe a lot of success boils down to the fact you need to get through the door first, and then just deal with what's on the other side. Yeah. And adapt.
Richard Branson, you know, who is obviously one of the best entrepreneurs that we've seen in this country. Jump first, see if the parachute opens second.
Yeah.
It's that mentality. Just do it. And I've said this a bit now. I think there are 2 times to start a business in your life. One's in your 20s and one's in your 50s. In your 20s, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So for me, when I started my business, I had a mortgage and I had a marriage and I had a house. I said to myself deeply, Andrew, if this all fails, you're going to lose your house, your marriage, and your money. Are you willing to lose those 3 things in the pursuit for like goals in the future? The answer was yes.
Yeah.
And actually, because I had such a loving family, I knew I could go back to the house I started in. I could go back to my bedroom as a 5-year-old, and I could start there again. And also, I believed that if I went and it all went wrong and I lost everything, I'd go and get a job for 100K tomorrow. And I believe I would. And I still believe that now. There was never a concern for me. The absolute worst case scenario is I'm back in my bedroom and I start again. And I believe that I would be able to build it from there. And someone like Simon Cowell, that's exactly what he did. He built it up, he lost it all, went back to his mum, and then he started again, and he was even more successful. So 20s and then 50s. Look, in your 30s and 40s, life gets busy. You're probably going to get a house. You're probably going to have kids. Your mum and dad are going to get old and need to be looked after. You're probably going to have a load of shit happen to you. People are going to die. Your finances get stretched. You get more promoted at work. 30s and 40s are busy. But in your 50s, you then get to a point where you're over life a little bit in terms of like you've learned a lot of lessons. You've made some money. Your kids are grown up. Your mum and dad might have passed on by that stage. Your responsibilities are less. And you're calmer. Like in Pareto, we were so vibrant and colorful and like rainbows. That's what Pareto was. But actually, the best team members I had were over 50 because they were calm. They'd been there before, and you had all these young kids, including me, running around losing our heads, and they're like, "Hey, calm down. Let's let's just deal with this and we'll work on it together." So I think for me that mentality of sort of starting again. Now, look, I'm 39 now, so I'm hoping to enjoy the next 10 years. But when I'm 50, I will be an even better entrepreneur than I have been already. Whether I want to start something or not is obviously down to various factors, including how the FTSE 100 performs with my investments. But yeah, so I think like that's my focus on it. But you'll never be ready. And like pull the plaster off and just do it, or jump out and see if your parachute opens.
100%. I think in the Western world as well, we're quite fortunate in the fact that you can fall back, right? You can go and get a normal job again. I want to talk about some like actual practical advice for everyone. In the early stages, what were your core kind of KPIs week to week that you track from kind of like, let's say the 0 to 10 million phase?
Just for context of our growth, so people understand, I started with 0, literally nothing. At the end of year 1, I was run rating at 1.5 million. At the end of year 2, 3 million. And the end of year 3, 10 million. So we had a huge growth curve really quick in that time. Now, what was the KPI? To be honest, the KPI was cash. And this is what people really have to focus on. You'll hear this phrase, cash is king. It absolutely is. Forget the profit. People focus on profits so much in the first few years. You don't need to be profitable. It is unlikely you're going to grow and sell a business in, say, 3 or 4 years from scratch. You might do, and fucking happy days if you do, but you're unlikely to do so. So your first 2, 3, 4 years of profitability, forget about it. If you make a loss, you make a loss. That's fine. The cash is the most important thing. So that's good cash terms with your customers. So if you're selling products, making sure you get paid in advance before it's manufactured, if you can. And if your services, my first couple of contracts were quarterly in advance payment terms. So when I won Bulgari, which was my first contract, Bulgari Hotel in Knightsbridge, £200,000 contract, quarterly in advance payment terms. it meant at the start of every quarter, I got a 50K cash injection,
Wow.
which then enabled me to start building and take a few more risks and buy more tools and vans and all those things you need as you were growing in property. So, but that was negotiation, that was choosing the right customer and all that. Focus on the cash.
Yeah.
Like, forget the other stuff for the time being. When you go to sell a business, and most of us will make money when we exit businesses. You may take a couple of $100,000 of salary while you're there and you take dividends and things, but when you make your millions is when you exit.
Yeah.
So it all has to be focused about that EBITDA number that you're making on an annual basis eventually,
Yeah.
and what multiple you're going to get off the back of that EBITDA. That is very early days. Just forget it. Just make sure you're afloat, put good systems in place. And some advice that I think is really important early doors is I had a 20 million pound turnover mentality from the very beginning. Even when I was there with nothing, the decisions I was trying to make for the business are, we're already a 20 million pound business. Now, practically what I mean by that is, say I was going to buy a piece of software for finance or HR or ops or whatever, I would buy a piece of software that would work today, or if we were 20 million turnover.
Yeah.
Because I knew we were going to go on this fast growth journey. I couldn't evidence it, but I knew we were going to go on it. That was so important, that because as we grew super quick and we were doing it all ourselves, all organically, you then could grow into the systems that you've bought. The other bit on the mentality of the 20 million thing was, if a big client opportunity came to us, so quite early on, we're about £1.5 million turnover. And then we had an opportunity for a contract that was £2.3 million turnover on its own. So we were 1.5 million, we had a 2.3 million opportunity. If you had a wrong mindset, you'd say, no, that's too big. We said, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, this is the minimum.
You
of what
weren't
we should be doing.
afraid of taking it on.
No. And actually, that was the right mentality. We took it on, we won it. It tripled the size of the business. We went from like 20 staff to 70 staff in one go. And when I say it was busy, it was busy.
Yeah.
That's how you start run rating towards 3 to 5 million in year 2 and get towards 10 million in year 3. You know, like these things really grow very quickly. But that is all about mentality.
Yeah.
So the advice is, focus on cash, not profit, because that's what keeps you afloat. That's what keeps the bills being paid. And have a mentality that you're already, say, a 20 million pound business from day one, and make decisions based around that. That includes hiring decisions as well.
Was there ever a moment where you decided to slow down growth to keep the quality or the margins?
No.
No.
So no. For 10 straight years, we grew every quarter consecutively for 10 straight years.
Wow.
It's a remarkable business model that we went through.
Yeah.
One of the biggest frustrations I had as an entrepreneur, and I have no regrets about what I did, but if I was thinking, how could I make it go faster than what we did? We got to a point where our team wasn't big enough to take on every opportunity that was available to us in the sector. I created this snowball, and this journey was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people were coming to us. We weren't advertising. Customers were saying, oh, we've heard that you're delivering to Bulgaria and Yahoo and Candy Crush and London Zoo and Netflix and Deliveroo and ASOS and Sainsbury's. Like they knew all these names, and they were like, oh, are you interested in us?
Yeah.
And it was almost like it had flipped. They were coming to us to say, hey.
You became the magnet.
Yes, that's right. Come to us. And like when you start growing at that sort of rapid pace, the problem we had is we couldn't convert enough of it quickly enough.
Wow.
It was too much.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, I found the worst feeling I had. I could see more money over there. I couldn't get it into the business because I just couldn't grow it fast enough. I couldn't get the team fast enough. And I focused so heavily on the team. So that team of 15 people that I mentioned earlier on, those 15 senior people, I had 100% retention rate over 10 years. I did not lose a single senior.
100%?
100% retention over 10 years.
Wow.
Didn't lose a single one.
Yeah.
Because I hired them all myself. And I really, really focused on finding good people. Now, when I could see more money over there, it would have been easy to hire a mediocre senior manager and say, you do that. But I didn't want to compromise on quality.
Yeah.
So no, I never slowed down. But yes, I never took an option where I just took someone who was shit and gave them an opportunity because I wanted more money. It was always about quality. And in our sector, we have a net promoter score on average of -10, right? Generally, service contractors in property services are pretty bad. Our quality was like +68. We were so far ahead of the sector that is why we had a reputation. We were retaining 90% of the work that we were doing on an annual basis. We had 75% recurring revenue every year. We had a 90% retention rate on our staff at one point as well, which in our sector is unheard of. We had this net promoter score that was literally 70 points away from the rest of the sector. It just created momentum. And I talk about a journey a lot. But yeah, I couldn't convert things quickly enough. But I never slowed down. It was always more.
100%. What do you think the first real sign was that you built something great?
I think it's when I mentioned that £2.3 million contract, and they came to us. That was a request. They'd heard that we got started. It was someone I knew from networking all those years ago, and I'd worked with them before. They came to us. They said, look, we've got this opportunity. We know you're small. We're a bit nervous about how small you are, but can you come and meet the board and meet the trustees and tell them the story of what you're trying to do? And you need to make commitments to us that you're going to go all in. And they said yes.
Yeah.
And I still have it in my head because this is what, 2016, something like that. Walking down these very dark stairs coming out of the room, and we were just hugging each other downstairs because the sales pitch had gone very well, the very small team that we had. That's probably when I thought, okay, this is interesting now.
Yeah.
Because now I have a £3.5 million business, or probably 5 million run rate at that stage. And I have a contract that's a couple of £1 million. I can keep going big now. £100,000 contract now is small to me because I've got a £2 million one over here, plus extras and projects on top. So like when you then have that mentality, it starts to build you up, and you start thinking about where you're going to go and what the opportunities are going to be. And now a £400,000 contract is what we should be aiming for as a minimum.
Yeah.
And it just makes you build up. And then also because of the client names that I just threw at you that we had, people loved it. We were like the meta of the facilities management sector. We came out there and we were like, yeah, we're cool. We got an LGBT plus committee, and we talk about Black Lives Matter, and we'll talk about neurodiversity. We don't mind being controversial about those things because we believe in it, and we're feminists, and we have a 9% gender pay gap when our competitors have a 45% gender pay gap. And if you're a predominantly women organization, let's talk about women. Let's talk about sanitary towels. That was the sort of thing that we used to do. And it was just so powerful. But I believed it, and I was all in, like I said. So it just worked really well for us.
Speaking on that topic, I heard in one of your Instagram reels recently that you spoke about having one of the most diverse teams in your industry.
Yeah.
Why was that so important to you?
The background I'm from and the upbringing that I had was all about tolerance, diversity, being with other people, and the estates and like the locality of where I was. We had a lot of refugees. Like one of my best friends growing up was a Yugoslavian refugee, David Sarako. I know he listens to some of my stuff, so shout out to David if he's listening. He's just about to move to Hungary. And but like that was my experiences on that. And actually I was completely diverse and open. And I count myself so lucky as a young person because I had so many experiences with different types of people. So when I was in year 1, in my class was children with severe autism. And it was not unusual in my class for a kid to pick up a chair and throw it at the teacher or stand on the table and play the trumpet. So that when you then encountered people with neurodiversity down the line, that was normal to me. And like at our school, we used to have this great guy called Stephen Kitchen. He'd just run up to you, punch you, push you over and run away again. It's normal. And actually, so then when you met people like that, and I just had this wonderful tolerance, and I had LGBT plus in my family, and I lived with a couple of gay guys at uni, and everything was just like brilliant, right? I was so rich of all of those experiences. I am the most tolerant person that you can meet. I am open to everything in terms of like different backgrounds and experiences. The reason it was important to me is in our sector, 85% of our membership base is men. Majority is white and majority are straight. So basically then you have this sector that's very white, male, straight orientated. And I didn't love that that was the case. And I wanted to represent in a different way. And it also meant that there's discrimination in our sector because it's run by a certain group of people. So those 15 people that I mentioned, they're the ones that I refer to. They are the most diverse group and most diverse senior team in the entire sector. Now, why that was wonderful, I didn't just choose people because they were a certain diversity. They were the right people to be in the team. But they happened to have a protected characteristic. The main reason it was important to me, what I wanted was, in my teams below, when there were 500 staff in the end, I wanted anybody who was insecure about anything in themselves to look up to the top of the business, and there would be someone with the same characteristic that they had at the top. There was no glass ceiling. So if you happen to be a certain type of person or a certain characteristic, you could still get to the top. And I'm not just saying it, you can see somebody there. Call them up, have a chat with them, WhatsApp them. That was so powerful for me. And we were in a time, in a movement, where working with organizations like Deliveroo, ASOS, Facebook, Netflix, they cared about this stuff. Because we were delivering people, we were delivering services. And I remember particularly with Facebook, like they had certain groups that were represented. So we like mapped, how does our black group talk to their black group and our LGBT plus group? And can we march in Pride together? And can we do neurodiverse stuff together and do stuff around women? but we would talk about it. Now, a lot of the businesses out there, they were scared because they didn't want to say the wrong thing. And I used to model myself on Channel 4. Channel 4, they did the Paralympics and they went like all in on Paralympics about how much of a heroes they were. That was me. I was like, I'm willing to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
I will go into a room with a load of men with a load of rewashable sanitary products.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these today. Got nothing to do with engineering services or HVAC or anything like that. And it was hugely powerful. But it was polarizing. It could upset some people because I would be saying things about the sector that the sector didn't want to hear about itself. But I was also commercially doing it for a reason, and it was the right thing to do. And the other kicker that worked really well for me was, in our world, we have to do walkarounds. So say a building is going to tender its services, 10 service providers like us will turn up and we'll walk around together.
Yeah.
I would always go myself, and I'd always be my character times 10, right? So I was always on, and I would just be super nice, super engaging, and the other guys would hate me. They would roll their eyes like, oh no, he's back again, here he comes. And I'd turn up with a box of donuts and I'd be like, hey, Johnny, how's it going? Oh, you used to work for CBRE. It says ISS on your pad now. Have you changed jobs and all that? Because I'm a really good people person in that respect. They hated it. Yeah. And the best compliment I ever got paid in my entire career, we'd done a walk around at Virgin Media and it went really well. We thought it went well. One of our competitors stayed behind afterwards to badmouth our company to the client.
Oh, wow.
We'd done nothing wrong.
Yeah,
he just badmouthed us because he hated me. I'd come out and I kept winning lots of jobs that he was going on. And the client called me afterwards saying, hey, just letting you know, this person stayed behind to say how bad you were and all that. I was like, well, thanks for letting me know because that's really useful. Of course, we won the tender and it was all good and it was a positive relationship. But the fact your competitors have to go out of their way to badmouth you when you've done nothing wrong, it's gold.
Shows you're doing something right.
It does. And it shows to the customer exactly like what you should be doing. So yeah, donuts, being there, always being there and doing the walkarounds and really making a thing of yourself. That worked really well for me.
I've heard you talk about the donut story.
Yeah,
for my audience that don't know, please tell us.
So one of my tricks that worked really well was custom made donuts.
Yeah.
So basically what I mean by that is if you're going to meet, let's just say you're going to meet Sainsbury, go buy some donuts with the Sainsbury's logo on. You get them made at Crosstown. And then always get a vegan option, always get a gluten-free option. Because then when you go into a room, firstly, people generally love donuts.
Yeah.
Secondly, for people with dairy intolerances or celiac or whatever, when you think about them before they even have met you and you're already thinking about them, you are paying them the highest compliment of respect that you possibly could do. So I banked on this idea that people love donuts, people love their own logo, vegans, dairy-free, celiacs, they also love these things and often get missed out because you might turn up with a box of chocolates and then a vegan can't eat it, for example. My own kids are vegetarian. My daughter is dairy-free as well. My wife has been vegan and vegetarian too. But yeah, so like for me, it's just about being memorable and creating those things. As a little trick for any entrepreneur, take something into a meeting that they are going to take away from the meeting. So what I would always do, take too many donuts. So say there's 5 people on the other side, take 20 donuts.
Yeah.
Because they then have to take them back to the office. And then in the office, they give them out to other people.
And say
where did these come from? Oh yeah, we did the tenders today. Pareto left these behind, or Andrew left these behind. Or also I would do things, I really believe in the power of kids and parents and kids. And I know for people who don't have children, I completely understand. But in business, lots of people do have kids. So like what I would always do is I'd take things like bug hotels like this. You buy them for like £8 on Amazon, right? I got loads of them. I used to have a whole stash of them in my garage. Take them in, bug hotel. Oh yeah, we care about sustainability. We're going to put these on the roof. The bugs are going to be there. By the way, do you want to take one of these home for your kids? Yes, I absolutely do.
Yeah, of course.
And also I've got, I also used to take like loads of random stuff in that was all branded. But it was all about when you've left the room, you can leave them with a feeling. That's one thing. And you can leave positivity, but leave them with something physical. So when they go home and give that bug hotel to their kid at 8 o'clock at night, they're still thinking about you, not the 20 other people that they've met that day.
Yeah.
And that's the power of like sales. And I genuinely did sell $250 million over 10 years. I did. And like, that's the power of what you can do.
100%. Back to your point as well, like with the diversity thing. In my industry, I obviously work with a lot of creators online making content. I always say to people, I look for little imperfections, right? I look for little differences because it's memorable. And if you can last an emotion, it's really important.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, how many employees did you have?
So we had 550 when I exited. So yeah.
What was the hardest bit about leading them people?
The the most difficult thing about a growing business that's growing very quickly is culture. So like you've heard me talk a lot about culture, and like, I think we had one of the most beautiful cultures that was out there. The challenge is, as you get bigger, Andrew can't be everywhere. Andrew can't hire everybody, and the entrepreneur at the top of it can't. So the difficult thing becomes, how do you get bigger and scale and keep the culture near what it was at the start? We didn't get it perfect, and I don't pretend when we had 500 staff that it was perfect. Maybe when we had 200, it was still pretty good, but it got more difficult as time went on. The only way you can really do it is start to hire people that also represent the culture. So the reason that team was diverse, as well as I mentioned, was because I wanted them to represent the business when I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And advice for anyone with senior management teams: if there's anyone in your senior management team you do not trust, get rid of them.
Get rid of them. Yeah.
Literally get
It's
rid of them.
quality over quantity always.
And actually, like, the whole point of senior teams is when you're not there, they do things almost as good as you. And look, all of us entrepreneurs, we think we're better than everybody else at certain tasks. We're not.
No.
We're the blockers. We're the ones that get in the way. Get out the fucking way. But that is such an important skill if you can let other people take it on. And trust, for me, was what it was all about. And again, you'll have heard me talk about, but I was that guy that if I needed you at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, I expected you to answer the phone. I need you. Like, and in property services, you're all in. Properties don't close at 5 o'clock and everything's great. Things break down all the time, especially when you got 20,000 animals in a zoo, by the way. I mean, they really like to go to town. So like for me, it was always about being available, but also then said they called in and said, oh, my kid's sick, or I need to take my dog to the vet. I'm going to take my wife for lunch. Cool. Like, that's absolutely fine. I expect an output and I expect you to be dedicated. The challenge comes with entrepreneurs when you have someone like me that is all in and is hard work. My expectations are super high all the time. I am the biggest critic of our business at any time because I'm insecure about it and I'm nervous about it that someone's going to find us out, right? It's all that stuff. And that's just the stupid stuff that goes through your head.
You need that though, right?
Well,
because if you don't have it.
Yeah. Well, if you start thinking that you're the best, that's the problem. But I never did.
Even with ego, like, how important is it to have an ego, but also dissolve your ego to keep on learning?
Personally, I'm not here for ego.
Yeah.
You need to have a belief that you're good in terms of what you're doing and a belief in your product. But the main belief needs to be, why is the customer going to buy from you and not a competitor?
Yeah.
That's the belief that you need. And that we were winning something like 77% of tenders that we were doing at one point, which was super high for the sector, because I had to answer the question first, is the customer going to buy from us? And it wasn't an ego, we're the best, every customer should buy from us. Absolutely not. It's stupid.
Yeah.
So ego needs to be put aside. You need to answer the question, what does the customer want to buy? And are they going to be right? That's the same for products. That's the same for services. That's the same for socials. What's the customer going to get from you? And focus around that. Entrepreneurs and egos, you need to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And the best phrase that we had in Pareto was, we don't hire dickheads. and that was mainly amongst us at the top 15 or 20 odd people, because I could be the biggest dickhead in the business at certain times. And you needed a business and a group of people that would say, hey, Andrew, I had a guy called Colin, one of my right-hand people, amazing guy. He would absolutely call me out. He's one of the senior team. Andrew, you're being a dickhead. It says on the wall, we don't employ dickheads. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Calm down. Go away. Don't WhatsApp me when we can't speak because I need to talk to you properly. Don't get over the top about this. And similarly, that sort of language was used within the senior team. But it's a bit like in a marriage or in a relationship. If one of you is sort of like really pissed off about something and the other one's not, it's almost trying to make allowances for why that's happening and talking about it and communicating well.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, this whole mentality of we don't hire dickheads worked really well for us, because when someone was acting in a certain way, we could call it out. You cannot have ego in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
I think us humans, in many ways, we're not always truth-seeking animals. And I think it goes back to tribal times. You know, if you're the village truth teller, you might get clubbed to death in the middle of the night. Whereas if you can kind of go along to get along, you can reproduce.
Yeah.
How important do you think is to create an environment of truth telling in a business?
You should tell the truth, but you have to manage the truth as well.
Yeah.
I don't believe in all out lying, and I cut me in half and I'm integrity, right? So I have integrity. I don't lie. I don't try and lead people on. In business, you need to be able to tell the truth, and the don't hire dickheads thing was like one of the ways of doing that. But there's a lot of the time where you don't tell the full story. So sometimes it's not lying, it's not telling the full truth. And you have to, and as you get bigger and you have HR issues and people issues and client issues and cash issues, You just have to make the best of what you've got.
Yeah.
And actually, I think going back to like being a 20 million pound entrepreneur from the very beginning, I used to exaggerate what our turnover was right at the beginning, because I was like, how are people going to know?
Yeah.
Right. You have your financial year, you submit your accounts, 9 months later, 18 months later, whatever. And actually by that point, you've already twice the size of what you were before.
Yeah.
So I'd always had 5 million on, and like the team would laugh because they'd say, oh, Andrew, in the last meeting, you said we're 5 million. Today, you're saying we're 10. You know, like what's going on? I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we say the right thing for the customer. I am not saying all out lie, because that's dangerous, but using the truth economically is something that's very important. And one thing, if I can just add in, this is a really good tip, human to human, for anyone in sales. Flattery works on every level.
Yeah.
Not saying lie to people. I'm saying the key skill to sales, understand what the other person wants to hear. There's this phrase, it's you should treat people like you want to be treated. That's not true. Treat people how they want to be treated.
Yeah.
Find out, what do you want to hear? Now, let's just say, I don't know, you've got great dress sense, you care about your shoes, you've got a nice Gucci belt on, you've come in a nice car. I know you're probably materialistic. Fantastic. Wow, that car you've got outside, I've always dreamed of having a car like that. And those shoes, where did you get those? Oh, I'm going to Bicester Village on the weekend. Do you know where I can get a pair as well?
Yeah.
Don't care about cars, don't care about shoes. You're making that people feel superior.
It's the preparation as well, right?
Yes, it is. But like flattery, scientists tell us flattery works on every level. Doesn't matter how senior, how junior, how small, it works. So just use it. And it's about sort of kindness as well. Make sure people leave there. So in my world, whichever the client was that we did a tender for, we'd always end up with, thank you so much for seeing us. It's incredible that a business like us gets to chat to a business like you. We appreciate you are so busy. If there's anything we can do or any opportunity to work together, this is going to change our lives. That sort of thing. Doesn't matter if it's true. You're saying the right thing because you're flattering people and it's believable. And again, I'm not saying all out lie, but sales is about saying the right thing and understanding the personalities on the other side of the table.
I completely agree with that. Since learning sales, like I've used that many times, 100%. I want to talk a bit about creativity in the business. How do you approach creativity, and how important is it for entrepreneurs listening to get creative with the business?
I think creativity was one of our core skills. And creativity for me was looking at all the other competitors, at what they were doing and being different to those, but being deliberately different. So if you go into a sector that has lots of big established businesses in it that you're going to be competing against, what don't they do very well? Go and listen to Rory Sutherland, right?
I love Rory Sutherland.
He talks about this all the time. What don't they do well? And be really good at that. So in my world, yes, there are 125,000 competitors, but they were really slow. They couldn't adapt themselves around the customer. They weren't diverse, and they weren't a great business to do business with. So they were like the four things. So we were all of those. We were completely flexible. We had a diverse team. We were great to do business with. We had lots of social initiatives. We had a diverse group of people that would run the contract. So like that whole piece around, find out what others are not doing well and be good at that. And in your marketing, tell customers that that's what's important to them. Because in sales, it's really easy to think what's important to you. What message are you giving out today? Go back to what I just said. What do they want to hear? What things are you trying to hit on their side? I once won this contract. It was with a rail company, and they'd asked us in the pitch to do one slide on their organization. So what did we understand about them? I did like 2 hours of research. I went deep into their socials, into all this stuff. I memorized every train station that they didn't operate at in the UK. Because I go, oh, you do every single train station except for blah, 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 blah. I could say it.
So they were advertising they could do it.
Yes.
They did all of
They could do it, but this was what they'd learned about themselves, and there were only 5 stations they couldn't do. I did this thing, almost that one slide alone is why we won that contract. It went on to be worth millions.
Yeah.
And actually, they weren't asking about, oh, who's the best air conditioning maintenance guy or who had the best vans or anything like that. They didn't care because you'd created that feeling.
Yeah.
So and that's creativity, going beyond what other organizations are going to do. But if you're in a sector with big companies, use what's bad about them against them and tell customers that that's what you're better than. And that is what creativity looks like.
That is absolutely fantastic advice. It's really good. When you're stuck on a problem, what sort of things do you do to get over it?
Look, we face lots of problems, and I faced lots of mistakes. Taking yourself out of the situation.
Yeah.
We all say, like, you're trying to write an essay, or you're trying to just really put yourself into something, and you just can't get past it. You sort of get to a block. forget it for a second. Turn the laptop off, go away, have a shower,
Mm.
go and watch some Netflix or something, or flick on social media and kill your brain for a little bit longer and all those things. Take yourself out. So I really mean it. I was up at 5 and I go to bed about midnight every day. So that is my level of hustle that I was doing. The 15 minutes I had to myself in the day was in the shower. And I used to listen to music. I find music very powerful. And I'm a big pop music guy, right? So
what sort of music do you like?
Oh, Busted, McFly, Sugar Babes, Girls Aloud, Spice Girls. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's not what you'd expect, but that's and Oasis, of course, and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Foo Fighters and sort of some of the cooler ones. Taking myself out of the situation, listening to something that would stimulate my brain in a different way. A lot of the aha moments that I had was when I was in the shower.
Yeah.
I found it really difficult. And I was, even when I was working in my early career, I was studying my master's at the same time and everything. I could just sit and be blocked in front of me. I just didn't know. And this is before AI, when you could sort of get things to sort of prompt you a bit further forward. Take yourself out and go and do something different. Look out the window. I had a guy called Clive, who was one of my business partners. He said, Andrew, you need more window time.
Yeah.
Just look out the window.
I think that's where the money gets made.
Do you think so? Yeah.
I do, yeah. I believe that for me, where I move the needle in my business the most is when I'm away from the laptop and I'm around people.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, for me, just before I go to bed, that's where all the ideas flood in. And I used to have a notepad and pen down. Now I use ChatGPT or Whisperflow. I just talk to it.
Yeah.
And then I've got all the ideas and I'll just have all these business ideas. That's the beautiful thing about AI right now.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to go on to that, to be fair. You can create anything now. In a matter of minutes. If you want to create a website, it takes you a day. If that, it takes me a couple hours.
With lovable.dev, it's like 5 minutes for a website.
Claude Code is absolutely life-changing to me at the minute in my business. One question I have for you is, if knowledge is accessible to everybody now, and people can just get access to that whenever they like, day by day, what actually becomes valuable in society?
So look, I'm a big AI advocate. I do AI talks and I do a bit of consulting for OpenAI and all that sort of stuff. So I'm in it, right? I get it. I used to be a prompt engineer before back in the day when if you wanted a PowerPoint, you'd have to write like a 6-paragraph prompt. I could do that and it would create it. But now obviously it's just changed. We should be really careful that you said the word knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Knowledge can just be words on a page. And AI is words on a page, right?
Yeah.
I go back to Xerox, the printer company in the 80s. Xerox found that the way that they shared the most knowledge between their engineers is when they all came back to depot and they were stood around the water cooler and they were all talking about the challenges they'd had with fixing printers outside. That tacit knowledge is not in AI. All of the knowledge that those guys had in their head, you can't write it down. There's no way, because it's shared experiences, it's the emotion, it's how we're talking to each other, it's our hand gestures, it's everything. So AI is loads and loads of words, but especially generative AI, so like ChatGPT, look at the way it writes. And actually, because there's copyright infringement and stuff now, it's starting to change some of the language, and it's not normal language now that is in there. And of course, everyone saw the M hyphens. And what I notice at the moment is if you got like the word isn't, it will do is not. It won't bring those together because of various different things. So I still see AI as data, which means it's there to be harvested and changed into knowledge. I don't think you just all of a sudden go on and write something into Claude or ChatGPT and it gives you the answer. Yeah. Because like knowledge is how you bring all that together. And like I said, that tacit knowledge of how you share experiences and human to human. So look, we all have to embrace it. And the ability to create websites and all sorts of stuff. I love Notebook LM at the moment. So say I take this podcast and put it into Notebook, it'll create me a 6-stage strategy off the back of what we talked about today. And it looks beautiful. Yeah. And you go into each one and you vibe code in it to tell you about what you want it to change. And it does it and it's all free and it's magic. Like it is magic. And people in their 20s, you have to embrace it now.
100%.
And like, doesn't mean it's going to have all the answers. I could talk about AI all day, but something I really love, I do some work with a university in Netherlands. Now, universities is where AI is really a challenge because now I can do a 1,500-word essay in 30 seconds, whereas when I was there, you had to write it all yourself, right? There was literally no AI. You went to the fucking library and took a book out.
Done.
Yeah, and you wrote it all down, which just seems so crazy now, but that is what we did only like 20 years ago. One of the courses on this Dutch university is to write the perfect prompt. So there's an essay question, whatever it's going to be. The only answer you can give is an unedited prompt from AI.
Right.
So that's the essay. So basically you need to write this perfect AI literate prompt in ChatGPT. Whatever the answer is, that is your answer.
Yeah.
And that's the essay. And that's really special.
I think that is special. I think you need to have the agency to obviously go out and really leverage it. But also it does come down to what you prompt it.
Yeah, of course,
you know, you need to have that baseline thing there. I do believe that we're moving into a world now where one of my good friends, Oliver, shout out Oliver, I'll be pleased he got a mention on this. He believes that we're going into in-person events more and actual human interaction, because I think that is actually more sustainable anyway. And I think that's how we build together as communities.
Let me go into this because I go back to networking. I really believe in the power of networking. A couple of weeks ago, I was lecturing at Brooks University to the real estate students there. I said, straw poll, right? They're all similar age. They're 21 years old. How many days do you want to go to the office? 2 days a week is what they said. General. I was like, 2 days a week. I was like, any entrepreneurs in here, go to the office 5 days a week. Presenteeism works on every stage. The whole Japanese economy in the 80s was built on this idea of presenteeism, and they're one of the most successful economies in the world. Right now, you have this generation of kids that don't think they need to go to work. Right. And actually being in this space where you can network with each other and be together and put a jacket on the back of your chair or fall asleep at your desk or go to the drinks or go to the lunch. Fucking hell, man, you need to be there. And for entrepreneurs who are really trying to hustle, you need to hustle a little bit less because now a lot of the people aren't there. The biggest challenge that the Generation Zs have at the moment is the Generation Alphas that will come after them. Because the Generation Alphas who hit the workforce in about 5 years or so, they are not impacted by COVID. They're not impacted by wanting to be at home. They might come back to the office 5 days a week.
Interesting.
And then there's this really interesting, because I'm a workplace guy, right? So I literally looked after millions of square foot of workspaces. There's this school of thought that the alphas are going to overtake the Gen Zs because they are going to be present. They're going to be available. They're going to be networking and all that. So yes, I fully buy into this concept because what we found in offices, generally Monday and Friday are very quiet. So we're like talking less than 20% occupancy Monday and Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you have the twats, as we call them, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday. So the twats are in midweek. But now that makes Thursday is now beer Fridays. So you used to have beers on a Friday, you now have it on a Thursday. Because you're going to go out, you're going to get pissed, you're going to have a hangover, but that's all right because you're at home the next day. So you're just going to wake up, not going to turn your camera on. That whole culture is going to change with the next generation. And I really believe in this power of networking. And actually, since I finished working, I actually spend quite a lot of time at events. So I might be talking at them, or I might be on a panel, or I might just be going. I find that really valuable.
For the audience, how do you network properly?
So when I first started networking, I mean, I'm old, right? I used to have a BlackBerry. So like we used to go and
back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. Your dad probably had one back in the day. You had this little ball on it and you used to swing it around to play Brick Breaker and stuff. How do you network properly? Just go and be yourself and be interested in the other person. The biggest flattery you can pay to someone, as I mentioned earlier, is be interested in them. So like I said, if they've got a nice pair of shoes on or they've got a book in their bag or you can see that the logo or whatever, just talk about them. Get them engaged in what they're talking about. Good networking is not running around to 50 people. Here's my card. Here's my card. Here's my website. Here's my Instagram. Follow me. Do this, do that. They're never going to, because why would they? I do a lot of networking still now, and people that have a very brief chat with me, then they'll get me on LinkedIn and they'll try and sell me something. I'm actually not interested.
No.
If I've had a great connection, there's a person that I met in Den Haag a couple of weeks ago. She's just started a business in recycled furniture, and I love sustainability, and obviously I'm in the workspace sector. She had a chat with me. We had a half an hour chat. She was telling me all about it. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. She reaches out, can I have half an hour mentoring, like just to help me out? Absolutely. I'm saying yes every day of the week to that. So like, I think for me, just go and be yourself, be interested in them. My little secret on networking, I think the most powerful time to network with someone is when they're leaving. So let's just say you've been there for a couple of hours and it's 8 o'clock at night, everyone's tired. Your brain slightly changes, right? You are now going to leave the event. So now you're thinking, what's at home? Am I hungry? Am I going to see my wife before she goes to sleep? Are my kids still awake? In those moments, you start to drop your guard a little bit because as a human, you're starting to change. that is the time to walk out with someone,
Mm.
have a chat, talk to them about their kids. What are they going home to? What are they upset that they've missed that day because they weren't around? You create an emotional connection
And their
with
guard's
people.
dropped
The
as
guard
well.
is dropped. Probably they've had a glass of wine, because also alcohol plays a part within. If you drink or not, alcohol plays a part in networking. And then maybe if you're both going in the same way, maybe you share a cab somewhere, or maybe you get on the tube or a train, whatever. Those times are so deep and so precious. And that is how you really leave a lasting impression.
Yeah.
And and maybe that's when you whip a donut out with their logo on, but you won't know about them at that stage.
By the way, how did you get the logos on the donuts?
Crosstown. You can order them
Oh.
on Crosstown Donuts. Yeah,
Okay,
you
cool.
can still do it today. It's well worth it. And they do vegan ones as well, and gluten-free.
That's actually really cool.
Shout out, there's a company called Borough 22 Donuts. They do gluten-free and they do customized. I had some last week. Absolutely brilliant. So it's out there.
There you go,
you can
guys.
find it.
You've got
Yeah,
it.
Borough 22. Shout out to them. But yeah, the power of networking at the end of the night, I think, is really powerful.
Yeah.
And also networking is really awkward, right? Especially for generations that aren't used to being around people all the time. And like I was at the start with my BlackBerry in the corner, when you're leaving, there isn't this awkwardness of how long is this conversation going to last for? Do I need it to go on longer? Can I move on to the next one? You're starting to exit. And yeah.
What sort of, do you think you need skills to network? Do you think you need similar skills? Do you think you need enough skills?
I think the only skill you need to network is some type of personality.
Communication. Right? Yeah.
Being outgoing, having a personality, not being awkward. And look, there are some awful networkers. I mean, ego. If there's a place that ego comes out, is networking, because we're all a bit nervous, and it's an unusual. Meeting a group of new people for the first time is a difficult thing for any human to do.
Yeah.
What you find with egos is they tend to go even harder, and they make stupid jokes, and maybe the jokes are slightly on edge.
Overcompensating. Right?
Absolutely, yeah, because they're nervous and they're insecure, and I understand all of that. But you just need to be a good person, just leave a good impression. And for me with networking, never ever did I try and sell something to someone at a networking event. It's a bit like LinkedIn. Of the 250 million pounds I sold, I didn't sell a single one for a LinkedIn message.
Yeah.
Because it was all about being out there and seeing people and them reading about me in the magazine, or they saw me at an awards ceremony or whatever. So all those, I mean, the amount of LinkedIn messages I get daily trying to sell me stuff, I am never going to say yes to that. And actually make it, I talk about where I'm speaking quite often, or I advertise it. Come and meet me.
Yeah.
Me, Andrew, and Ideas Fest last year. So Frankie and the team at Great British Entrepreneurship Awards and Ideas Fest, I spoke at it last year. Honestly, I'm not being boastful here. There's about 10 people queued up to chat to me afterwards. I have done work with almost all of them.
Wow.
And the two Krakens who do a podcast studio, and people, the woman who runs Whizzer, this thing that kids we in, and loads of others. I've done various stuff with them because they stayed behind. They had a chat. Andrew, we saw you online. We really love what you said on stage. Can we have a chat? It's playing to my ego.
Yeah.
I'm on stage. People, I want people to be happy with what I'm saying. They think I'm good. And of course you end up doing time. And with two Krakens, I ended up filming a 4-day documentary with them, which is in the process at the moment. And these things are amazing, but just make the effort.
Yeah. I mean, one of my good friends at the minute, he actually approached me, I think probably end of 2025 now. And we get on so well. He's one of my best mates now. And we've never met, right? So we always talk on the phone pretty much most weeks. And, he has so many skill sets, and I have skill sets that we can combine together. We turned around to each other and we went, let's not start a business together. Let's just be good mates. And we have such empowering conversations. Yeah. And I really, really like those interactions more than, like you say, just somebody trying to sell you or something or become your business partner. Like sometimes the interaction is just nice to have.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your exit.
Okay. Yeah.
What sort of mental preparation did you have, or did you undergo before you exited? Because it's quite a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you go from so much work to you wake up the next day and you've got all this free time.
I did a lot. And actually, this is not something a lot of founders do. This was very deliberate on my side. So I specifically worked with a business psychologist for about 8 weeks in the lead up to the sale.
Okay.
I've never had any therapy or anything before in my life, but this felt like therapy. Basically, a guy called Stuart from Pern Candola, shout out to Stuart, absolutely brilliant. I'd recommend him to anybody. He prepared me in many ways, but one of the ways was we talked about entrepreneurship as an island that I was swimming towards. And eventually I couldn't see that island for 10 years. Now, all of a sudden the island's there.
Yeah.
And I'm swimming even harder now because I can see it and I'm going to get there. So what Stuart talked to me about was a couple of things. He's like, Olympic gold medalists, when they get their gold, often they'll go into depression afterwards because they've worked for 4 years or 8 years to get something. They achieve it. Then what do you do the next day?
Yeah.
And that's the same as swimming towards the island. So what Stuart and I worked on over these sessions was swimming. I'm going to get there. Andrew, you're going to get there. And he made me believe that I was, and I was in the right headspace. When you're sat there under the palm tree with your coconut, what are you going to do next? And I had like these 4 or 5 things that I was going to do next. So when I woke up the day after, when I had the money in my account, that's what I was going to get up and do. For me, it mainly related to family, rebuilding relationships. I wanted to do a thing. I have a massive family, right? So like Christmas Day, there's like 75 people that we need to see, right? On Christmas Day. So I hired the local hotel in the village near me. And I hired every single room in the hotel. It was like 35 rooms, hired the entire hall, the entire bar. I paid for absolutely everything. And I said, everybody come here for the day on Christmas Day. And it was the most magical day. But like organizing that is quite a hassle to do.
I bet.
And that was like one of the things that I organized quite early. And basically the other thing I wanted to do was I bought the farm. That was a big thing for me because I didn't have it when I exited. And I wanted to host like my own mini festival. So I had 200 people there in the summer. We had this little festival, hog roast and bouncy castles and all that. It takes loads of organizing.
Yeah.
And so like these things become very busy. So yeah, like I think that's the mentality of it. You need to prep. It is tried and tested that people sell businesses, get gold medals and go into depression afterwards. Marriages fail and all that. I'm not too proud to talk about feelings and everything. You know, you need to prepare for those things.
Yeah.
But the first thing I did is after it was done, I got on a train and I got on the sleeper train and I went to Scotland. So the Caledonian sleeper, paid 800 quid to have my own room and my own double bed, which was amazing, by the way. Went all the way to Fort William, hired a car, drove to the Isle of Skye in the rain, which was stunning.
Wow.
Turned around and came back. I just went on my own.
Really?
Literally, that's all I did. 2 days. Talk about the window time. I sat there 15 stone, the lightest I'd ever been, eating neeps and tatties and drinking whiskey on the coach in first class, chatting to other people in first class, telling them I just sold my business and made all this money. And that's how my decompression started.
Yeah.
And I needed to do it because on that trip, I bought all of my team a Mr. Men book each. So I sat there because they're all the different types of Mr. Men personalities. I bought the entire box and then I took a few out and gave them all one and wrote their cards and everything. And it was sort of my way of saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Sort of like, I've taken you to this stage.
How was that a feeling for you, saying goodbye to the people that you looked after?
Well, in the investment that we did, they all stayed on. But
Right.
you knew 2 years later, most of them have moved on now, or 2.5 years later. So things change and things go through different things. So I didn't feel guilty because I'd made some money, they'd made some money. I was always very open with them around where I was going. They love the Mr. Men stuff. And actually, they're still friends now. So like if I go on a holiday, it might be with one of the old guys. Or if I go skiing, it'll be with one of the other guys. I don't go skiing very often, by the way. Just one of them owns a ski chalet. And so it's very cheap to go in March time. But yeah, so actually like it was therapeutic to sit and write those down. And it's part of me just saying thank you. And also I took them all to Paris and we went and had a 2-day piss up in Paris, which I can't talk about the things that happened on that trip on camera, but it was amazing. A couple of days.
It's all about people though, isn't it? I think at the end of the day, it's the people around you which make life special.
Yeah.
How much do you think, or how important do you think it is not to tie your identity to your business?
So I did, right?
Yeah.
I did. Andrew was Pareto and Pareto was Andrew. That is what made it good. The key is how you disassociate yourself at the right time. Entrepreneurs who they hang on too long because their identity becomes the business. Pareto for me, it wasn't a means to an end because I was trying to do something different and build something different. And we did. We genuinely built something better in the sector. But towards the end, I knew my exit was a possibility. And about a year before we exited, I hired a senior management team. So a new CEO. So imagine you've run a business for 9 years and now you're going to go and hire the guy who's taking over from you. That was hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Because they're never going to be you, never going to be as good as you. They're going to be better at you in certain areas. How are the team going to react, et cetera, et cetera. But very deliberately in the lead up to the exit, we hired that team.
Yeah.
And I started to take a step back. I still bust in and working very hard behind the scenes, but I wasn't on our social media. I wasn't the main focus because we're building this whole team up. Because when you come to exit a business, if someone's going to give you $100 million for something, they need to believe that that business is going to be successful after you've sold it to them, which it was, and it still is. It's a successful business still today. But that was a really deliberate decision.
Yeah.
Because in the boardroom, when that person opposite you is asking all these questions about the business, the CEO and the team need to be the ones that answer, not you. And if you can disassociate yourself as early as possible and understand that the business is now bigger than you are, and if you want your payday, if you want your 8-figure payday in your bank account, get out of your own way.
Yeah, get out of the way, yeah.
Very difficult advice for entrepreneurs to take. I was good at it. It was one thing that worked for me. I understood the process. I started to do the psychology stuff, like I mentioned. This was all a planned out mental exercise that I was in control of. And we're control freaks. I'm the biggest control freak that there ever was in my business.
I think part of that is because you want the job to be done right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. I'm a control freak because my expectations are so high and my standards are so high. I mean, yeah, look, with me, if I didn't think we delivered something to a good enough standard, even if the customer wasn't complaining, I would be complaining. I'd be like, guys, this isn't good enough. Like, this is not what the customer, they should be giving us a real hard time about that. And sometimes customers are unreasonable and it goes the other way around as well. But that's life and that's business. So, yeah.
What would you say your views are on luck in business? Is there luck?
There is luck. Luck does exist, but you have to create the opportunity for luck to exist.
How do you do that?
By putting yourself out there and creating situations. If you go back to networking, right? We talked about it a lot. If you go to a networking event and you meet someone that happens to want your services or your product and you sell to them, is that lucky? No, it's not lucky because you've gone to the networking event.
Yeah.
Friend of mine, Sajna, that I run a charity with, she'd gone up to Birmingham to an event, met someone, and they ended up spending a huge amount on her courses that she runs. She was like, wow, it's so lucky. I said, Sajna, you left London, you went to Birmingham, you went to this event, you were a good person, and something came of it. That's not lucky. This is why I believe in hustle culture, because I believe the more networking events you go to, the more articles you write, the more awards you win, the more stories you tell, the more podcasts you record.
Yeah.
That's how luck happens, because people are aware of you. You are not going to be lucky just sat in your bedroom doing nothing.
You need to take action.
You have to. You have to. So yes, I believe things are lucky. But look, I met my wife on the very first day of university. We happened to live in the same halls of residence. I held the door open for her as we walked in on the very first day.
That's amazing.
And she was born the day before I was. Right? Wow. Is any of that lucky?
Yeah.
Who knows? And we've been together 20 years, right? I'm lucky because I've been in a relationship for 20 years and she stood by me in very difficult, challenging times of being an entrepreneur. If I hadn't have held the door open for her, if I hadn't have chosen to go to Essex University, if I hadn't have worn that England rugby shirt that she liked on the first day that I walked in, who knows?
When you went to Essex University, where did you live?
In Colchester. So we lived on campus.
Well, that's where my parents are from.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we lived on campus in year 1. We lived in Wivenhoe in year 3.
My dad's from Wivenhoe.
Oh, there you go. Wivenhoe.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Wivenhoe, by the way.
Shout out to Wivenhoe.
One of my really good friends, Marilyn Stanley, she lives in Wivenhoe now, and she's in that area. And sometimes when I do calls with her, she was one of the early founders of the facilities management sector that I'm from. She lives over by the water, so out of her door. And I sometimes do calls with her and you can see the water. The chip shops in Wivenhoe are like something else.
Well, my granddad was the chairman of Houston Football Club.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's all so small out there.
It's crazy.
Yeah, second year I lived in Greenstead. What a shithole that was.
Yeah, that is bad.
I lived in Tippett Close. The year we moved in.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Someone got murdered on Tippett Close the year we moved in.
Yeah, Greenstead is not a nice place.
No, and it's the second biggest council estate in Europe. And
Colchester's the quickest growing town in the UK now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I went to talk at Essex only a few weeks ago, and I went back to 2 Tippett Close to have a look. Heather and I, we lived there together, my wife, and we used to sleep in the garage bit. It'd been converted into a room.
Yeah.
And the kids used to be on our roof all the time. And like we'd be waking up in the morning, like 10 o'clock or whatever. There's all these like footprints on there. But shout out to Colchester. I loved Colchester.
Yeah.
And actually what was always interesting about it was the students and the squaddies. So in town. Now the squaddies are a lot harder than the students.
They are, yeah.
And some of those students really think that they can take them on. It was never a good idea.
No.
But no, the campus life there was stunning. And going back to being tolerant and open and diversity, when I was at Essex, 50% was international students.
Yeah.
So Tuesday was salsa night, Wednesday was Afro beats, Thursday was like there's like a South American thing that they did. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So like you would just go down and all these other cultures, and it wasn't just like, oh, there's a couple of Chinese students or a couple of South Americans. There were loads. So they were communities in themselves. and it would all be embraced and you'd all be together. And like some of my best mates were like Cypriot and that sort of stuff. I loved it. And like put me in the middle of that square drinking beer out of a shoe again, and I'm happy. That's exactly what we used to do.
That is absolutely great.
Yeah.
So after everything you've built and achieved, what's your goal next? What do you want to do?
My goal now is to be a present father.
Yeah.
That is my only goal. Because my kids were 2 and 4 when I finished. And with my daughter in particular, who's the older one of those, I just wasn't there enough early on. And I felt really guilty about it. And for anyone who does have a business and goes on to have kids, the biological draw of children changes your brain. When you have this beautiful baby that you have created and she's crying for you and she wants you to be there, to go away from that because you're trying to chase money, I found became much harder.
Yeah.
So like I felt a level of guilt around that. And like I used to come home at 6:45, bath her, give her back to my wife and keep working till midnight. And I felt like that was enough, and it wasn't. The relationship I have with my kids is stunning now. I love it. I take them to school. We play out in the fields. We got our goats coming. They love nature. They like eating carrots out of the mud. That is worth, you could have the tens of millions back. Honestly, that is what is worth it to me. So present father is one thing, but also I'm trying to build a bit of a story around Andrew and the journey that we've been on, because I want people to understand I didn't come from money. I didn't have a special background. I am nothing special, right? Anyone who's sat there thinking, oh, he has something that I don't, I promise you I don't. You are no different to me. It is just mindset.
Yeah.
It's that all-in mentality. It's the hustle. It's the need to earn money. It's the want to get something better at the end of it. That is what I'm trying to teach people. I don't want to charge anybody for it. I haven't got the book. I haven't got the masterclass. I haven't got the consultancy. None of those things. Just listen to what I'm saying. Take me at face value. TikTokers go and find some shit about me that you think is wrong. That's fine. But I just want people to understand I'm nothing special. They're nothing special. It's you versus you. Go and create something for yourself. I really, really believe that.
That's a really special message, and I really like that. In light of the podcast being called Manners Maketh Man,
yes,
obviously you've met a lot of amazing people. What is one trait or manner that they all seem to carry throughout their lives?
I think they're interested. So like they will go out of their way to learn more, even a bit of research in advance. They want to just fundamentally understand stuff. And they almost, like the good people I've met, they don't take things at face value. There's a level of insecurity about, oh, I'm just going to sort of think about that a little bit more. And they're not superficial. So like everything is quite thought about and real. And some of the most special people that you meet, they're really interested in you, and maybe they know a bit about you, or they've got their thoughts and stuff. So they're interested. They're not just trying to glide through life. They're trying to make things a bit more difficult for themselves, and they want to get to know people. And that's why for you, like interviewing people on podcasts, you're going to learn so much.
Yeah.
And you will write a book because you're going to interview 100 people who've gone through interesting journeys, and it's going to teach you so much. And that's valuable stuff to sell to other people.
Well, I've learned a hell of a lot today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for jumping on.
Pleasure.
Top man. Cheers, Andrew. Thank you.